Good day, all. The Israel-Hamas War, as well as many other wars in the Middle East especially, is fought on the basis of false national identities, formed based on relationships with local imaginary deities, influencing their politics with animosities against each other. It is very unfortunate that humans in 21st century are captives of their imaginary deities that prevent them from recognizing other humans as equal as themselves. There is no such thing as being special people for a deity, no matter what deity people are captives of, because they are imaginary and not real. Even though all deities and their messages are basically impersonations of certain people who pretend to enjoy special close relationships with their deities and therefore misrepresent their own messages as the messages of their deities by impersonating them to impose such messages to the rest of the followers, the political, national, and social identities and exclusiveness they form in the followers of such man-made deities become real because they are exercised and implemented by the proponents and ignorant followers of such deities, and it becomes the identity of their existence that distinguishes themselves from other human beings. It's a psychological fact that messages, when delivered by individuals alone, as if they themselves are the authors of those messages, do not hold much value for their audiences. But if those messages are delivered as if from a higher source or as inspired from their deities through them due to their special relationships with their deities that is closer than everybody else's, then of course their messages holds more value to their audiences. And that's all there is to these impersonated divine inspirations to serve special interests and socio-political goals of these clever individuals. Feeling special is a good feeling that promotes the well-being of living beings, and therefore feeling special, even if it is from an imaginary deity, is a good feeling. But when that feeling is used to define people's identities that is separate from everybody else's, through institutions entangled with the socio-political hierarchical order, and to compare relationships of different people groups with other deities as less special in competitive comparison, then it becomes religion, and it translates into ill feelings between groups of similar individuals following different deities. It is these ill feelings that develop over time into animosities between groups of individuals and societies that are evolving in time through their accumulated hostile actions against each other that brews violent killings, massacres, and wars like the one that is being fought today between Israel and Hamas. What that means is that these wars and other hostile activities that accumulate over time only feed more hostile and more genocidal wars of the future. The fundamental problem, therefore, is the proliferation and existence of these false identities-based nation-building and their continued existence. Imagine the nations choosing to no longer be subject or to be associated with these false imaginary non-existent deities or their false identities, which will enable them to recognize their neighboring nations as fellow human societies, just like modern-day civilized neighboring homes, without aggressive, selfish behaviors. Keep in mind that these are all actions of man, not their deities, because they exist only in the imaginative capacity of the frontal cortex of their brains, and never outside of it. But it also means that it can be changed by recognizing that these are results of human limitations and the lack of understanding of the fundamental characteristics and capabilities of human brain. So all they have to do is resolve to have a fresh start by leaving the past behind, abandon their false identities that separate themselves, allowing them to recognize other neighboring nations just as themselves. Although it sounds so simple, abandoning identities is not so quite simple to accomplish when lives are entangled with various institutions built on such false identities, resulting in the enslavement of people by such entanglement that defines their identities for their self-consciousness of who they are within the manufactured confinement of their accepted enslaved identities by such entanglements. People become like domesticated sheep. The nation of Israel and its neighboring nations cannot correct or alter the past, but they certainly can shape the future for a glorious coexistence in prosperity and peace. The alternative tragic reality, as it is today, is to continue to accumulate animosities to result in total mutual annihilation, destroying what they build for their future generations. And that's a choice from the Stone Ages. Continuing with the identities of nomadic deities are not an option for human advancement with peace and prosperity in 21st century and beyond.